Hi, this is Kathi Quinn with Floriani. Floriani is a division of R&K Distributing, and I want to welcome you to our project of the week. Well, this week we're going to look at some tools that we aren't always aware of how they work. So it's all going to be about the grid today. I'm going to come up here to my ruler bar and I'm going to right mouse click. And we have a snap to grid and snap to anchors. We want to talk about snap to grid line, snap to anchors. We're going to look first at snap to grid. Now what this means is if I go to draw a line or a box or anything, but I'm going to use the line tool right now, and I get anywhere close to a corner, it's going to snap. Do you see it's going to snap onto the grid? So if I want nice straight lines, if I just snap to grid and look, I'm just close. I'm not exact, and it's snapping to the grid. Let me turn off my crosshairs so you can see that a little better. I'm going to go to Tools, Preferences, and I'm going to go to View, and I'm going to take off Show Crosshair. There we go, because it makes it a little easier for you to see. So if I come here and I'm just close, notice it's snapping to the grid. Now, this is wonderful when you want nice, straight, pretty lines. You're creating something that you need those to be perfect. And I'm going to right mouse click to turn those into stitches. So you can see how it snapped to the grid just perfect. Now, if I take snap to grid off and I do the same thing, if I'm not exactly on, do you notice my line is crooked? It's not a nice straight line. So when you're creating lines for things in your designs, especially when you're doing in the hoop projects where you need a zipper bag, you need those things to snap and be very straight. Snap to grid is your answer. Let's get another piece of paper. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to create a box. Okay, now this is with my artwork tool, and I've selected the rectangle. Left mouse click on rectangle. I held down my left mouse key and drug this box. So it's here. So now I'm going to select it. I'm going to select the box, and I'm going to come over to transform, and I'm going to make this a 3" by 3" box. Now I want to come in here. Now I've got that 3 by 3. I'm going to come in here now and I'm going to go to that same artwork tool, only this time I'm going to select the ellipse. I'm going to hold down my control key and drag. So I have a nice circle. I'm going to select it. I'm going to go to transform and I'm going to make this circle 2" by 2". Just got a circle and a square and they're both artwork. Now I'm going to select all items. I'm going to go to my Align tool and I'm going to center those two. Now that I've done that, I'm going to turn my box into stitches. I'm going to turn my circle into stitches by coming down to the bottom left-hand corner and just selecting a run stitch. So what this would do is it would stitch out a square box and would stitch out a circle in the center of the box. Now that I have this, I'm going to do several of these in the hoop. So I'm going to go to repeat. So here's my repeat, and I want 2 across, and let's say I want 3 down. And I'm going to use these lines to cut it apart. Those are going to be my cut lines. So I'm going to apply and say OK. Now, when this stitches out, I want you to watch what it does. It's going to stitch out a box and a circle, a box and a circle. So we have a whole lot of redundant stitching, don't we? We don't want to continue. Let me turn off my grid. I don't want to stitch out each box. What would be better would be to make one large box, make one long line, and a line across to be efficient. We don't want to waste the time, the thread, or anything to stitch each box square. But I needed to get this far so I could do it easily. So now we're going to turn that grid back on, and I'm going to come up here to my grid settings by right mouse clicking. And I first want to go to my grid settings, and I'm going to set this at about 1 inch, just so it doesn't look so crazy here. And I'm going to say OK. Now I'm going to snap to anchors. So there I go. So now with snap to anchors on, I'm going to select, again, a box here. And the minute I do that to draw, you notice every control point shows up. This is an anchor. So now, as long as I'm close, it's going to snap. I'm going to hold down my left mouse key and drag it, and it won't let me go make a mistake. It's going to snap to that anchor. So now I have a box right here that's artwork that's perfect. So I could come in here and say all these run boxes in a moment I can get rid of. Now what I want to do is I'm going to get my line and I'm going to snap to anchor. Left mouse click, enter, or right mouse click. Now I'm going to left mouse click, right mouse click, left mouse click, right mouse click. And let me see, I have 1, 2, 3. I need one more line. I need my top line. So again, I'm going to get my line tool, left mouse click, and see I was kind of over to the left, but it snapped to that anchor, and right mouse click. So I'm going to come in here now, make this easy. I'm going to grab this artwork. I'm going to left mouse click in my sequence view on my artwork. I'm going to hold down my shift key, come to the bottom, and left mouse click. So I'm going to select all this artwork, and I'm going to change the color. And I'm going to change it where it's a drastic change so we can see it. So now I've changed the color. So what I want to do now is I'm going to grab my run stitches. Let's go ahead and close our property so you can see it. I've got a run. I'm going to hold my control key and grab all these squares. I'm going to grab every square. Now that I have them, I'm going to delete them. So now what I've got is I have a much more efficient box. I'm going to select it, come down to your bottom left-hand corner, and turn it into a run stitch. So now I would tell it to, I'm going to right mouse click and say move to first. So I'm going to put it back in the first position. Now let's watch it. It's going to stitch around the box, right down, across, and across. How much more efficient is that? And we can even get better. So let's select this. Let's go to our shape tool. And I can see it's starting here. And so we're going to come and we're going to start right here on this one. And we've got our start and stop. Yep, there's my start, there's my stop. And I'm going to hit enter because I want this to go just around one time. I don't want it to go around a bunch of times. So now it went around once. Now what it's doing is it's going to come up here and come down. Now what I can do here is with these lines, I can look at this and I'm actually going to select it all. And I'm going to tell it, you know what, software, I would like this optimize entry and exit points so it's the most efficient it can be. So I'm going to make that more efficient so it stitches the easiest it can without stitching extra stitches. Now it's going to come in and do all my circles. So by using that anchor, I could make that box more efficient. So sometimes think about that. If you're trying to click right on something, if you tell it to snap to anchor, any of your blue control points, you're going to snap that stitch right onto. So if you're tracing, it makes it extremely easy. If you're creating and need straight lines, do snap to grid so it will snap onto your grid. These are nice little tricks to have. They're wonderful features of our software. I hope you learned something today. I hope you enjoyed our snapping, and I look forward to seeing you again next week.